Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. From 18 to 28, I was with James Carter for 10 years. The night before our wedding, he told me he was tired of me, then turned around and held hands with a younger girl. He thought I would chase after him, begging like a desperate dog not to be abandoned, but I didn't. I didn't make a scene. I canceled the engagement, burned the wedding dress, and threw away the ring. James even placed a bet with his friends, convinced that I would come crawling back to him soon. But when news of my engagement spread, he lost it. For the first time he contacted me. For the first time he cried. For the first time he got down on his knees and begged. I held another man's hand and thanked him. Thanked him on behalf of my new family of 3. On the 10th anniversary of our relationship, my 28th birthday, I wanted to get married. I wanted to take my lover's hand and step into the next stage of life. So I took the initiative. I custom-ordered the wedding ring and prepared the dress. If a man could propose, then so could a woman. I chose this special day and excitedly went to find him. But just as I reached the door of the private lounge, I heard James's voice through the gap, laced with disdain. "Zoe, she's just an old hag now. What's there to look at inside the room?" They burst into laughter. Someone teased, "Don't you know today is her birthday?" Another added, "Don't you know today is your anniversary?" James scoffed, "Of course I know. I know better than anyone. I just don't feel like seeing her." The atmosphere inside was lively. They drank, they laughed, they sang. One of his friends chuckled, "Honestly, Zoe is still pretty, but James, you have way too many options now." Another voice chimed in, "Hey, what about that young girl, Lily? She's still hanging around, right?" James seemed to light a cigarette, paused for a moment, then responded, "Yeah, she's still around. She's more interesting than Zoe. I can't bring myself to let her go just yet." "Man, James, you're ruthless." Someone laughed. "But what if Zoe finds out one day? What will you do?" James simply replied, "Nothing. I never planned on marrying her anyway." The flattery and laughter continued. My heart felt like it had fallen into an icy abyss. Wiping away my tears, I turned and left this so-called surprise. As I stepped outside, I happened to brush past Lily. She was beautifully dressed, radiating youth. That night, the rain poured heavily. I stood in the downpour, crying my heart out, and finally I woke up. No matter how many years I stayed by his side, if he didn't love me, it was all meaningless. So I let go. Just 2 days later, James publicly flaunted Lily. People said they were a perfect match. One mature and charming, the other young and delicate. James's difference in treatment between love and indifference was stark. Everything he did for Lily, he had never done for me. He cherished her, bought her houses, cars, jewelry, spending without hesitation. The entire social circle tacitly acknowledged their relationship. A few friends, unwilling to stand by, questioned James in a group chat. "Do you even care about Zoe?" Someone added, "James, you have no conscience, you should swallow a needle for this." James, annoyed, snapped, "Fine, you want an explanation for Zoe? I'll give her one, but you all gossiping about Lily behind my back? I'll skin you alive one day." On the night my friends gathered to celebrate my belated 28th birthday, James barged in with Lily in his arms. My cake hadn't even been cut yet. The room fell silent as everyone turned to him. When he saw me, he froze for a split second, as if caught off guard by my bright smile. But then, in front of everyone, he humiliated me. He pulled Lily closer, holding her tightly, then exhaled and said, "Zoe, I'm here to make things clear with you." My hand holding the cake knife stilled. I sat there calm and quiet, watching him indifferently. "I know, James," I said. 10 years, you're tired of me. You like fresh flowers and you want to leave me. Am I right?" I spoke as if it didn't matter, as if I had never loved him. But no one knew my nails were already digging into my palms. James hesitated. He wasn't expecting me to be so dignified. He seemed puzzled as to why I wasn't clinging to the past, questioning why I wasn't dwelling on the 10 years I had spent with him. But in the end, he let out a breath of relief. "Since you already know, then let's just cut things off." I nodded in agreement, my gaze shifting to Lily in his arms. She was so young. James had assumed I would lash out at Lily, so he tensed up, his expression stiff. But seeing my indifference, he hesitated before making an unnecessary promise. "We can still be friends." If you ever need anything, Zoe, I'll always help you. I smiled faintly, then stood up and walked away. That won't be necessary, James. James always demanded absolute loyalty and devotion in every one of his relationships. Since he had failed to give that to me, he should at least give it to Miss Lily. I had lost my appetite for cake, so I gathered my friends and left. As I walked away, I heard whispers behind me. James, you went too far this time. Zoe didn't even do anything wrong. Even those who used to mock me alongside James couldn't help but feel sympathy. But James, only James, sounded frustrated, his voice sharp with irritation. What are you all whining about? Zoe has been clinging to me for 10 years. She won't leave. I know her. Want to bet? His friends cursed at him, calling him an idiot. He took it all in stride, laughing as he added, she'll be back within a month. I, on the other hand, only wanted him to disappear completely. But everyone knew James was obsessed with me down to his bones. Lily's voice, filled with grievance, cut through the air. If she comes back, then what about me, Mr. Carter? James pinched Lily's cheek and chuckled. You're my sweetheart, of course. But you need to be good. Otherwise, I'll toss you out too. I walked away in my heels, never looking back, laughing but bitter inside. The night before I moved out of James's house, my custom wedding dress arrived. I had designed it myself, sketching every detail by hand, incorporating every style James loved. I had spent over 6 months eagerly anticipating it. But when I looked at it now, it was unbearably ugly. I took a pair of scissors and shredded the dress into pieces, then burned it along with all our photos. The engagement ring? I threw that away too. The house belonged to James. God knows how much effort it took for me to resist the urge to burn it down. Before leaving, I checked into a hotel and made a phone call to my professor, thinking I was calling to reject my study abroad offer yet again. He was furious. Zoe, this is an amazing opportunity. You could study abroad, polish your skills, and elevate your career. Why won't you go because of your ridiculous love life? You're not even yourself anymore. I said nothing, just listened as he ranted. My face was wet, but I smiled only when he had tired himself out. Finally I spoke. Professor, I've already submitted my application. I'm going to Milan. There was silence on the other end, followed by a relieved sigh. About damn time. You've wasted enough of your life on that idiot. If I knew all you needed was a good scolding to wake up, I would have done it years ago. I chuckled, humoring the old man, then reassured him that I would get everything in order. A few days later, I boarded a plane to Milan. After arriving, I quickly bonded with another student of my professor. We spent our days sketching together, mocking our professor's endless nagging, and immersing ourselves in work. Time passed quickly. I didn't pay attention to anything happening back home, nor did any news reach me. Life in a foreign country was busy and fulfilling. I was healing. For Christmas, a friend organized a small gathering for old acquaintances from back home. But when I arrived, there were only a handful of people. My friend said, "This is all I could get. The big shots are too busy to bother with us nobodies." We had a few drinks, and I was just about to slip away when the chime at the door rang. A tall figure stepped in, bringing with him a gust of cold wind and a few scattered snowflakes. It was Matthew Monroe. The room stirred with excitement. Matthew was a legend, an idol in the field. He was the same age as me, yet he had skipped grades all the way through and was now already a mentor. Despite his young success, he was known for being strict and distant, never taking on students no matter how much they pleaded. But even with such an untouchable personality, he remained someone people admired. "Professor Monroe, what brings you here?" someone asked. Matthew was the same as ever, composed, cold, and elegant. He barely acknowledged the others with a nod before walking straight toward me. Then unexpectedly he smiled, even if just a little. "It's been a while, Zoe." He was wearing a grayish-brown coat with a black scarf wrapped around his neck. His gloved hands were tucked neatly into his pockets, his usual polished and meticulous self. But his hair was damp from the melting snow, and a bead of water trickled from his lashes down the side of his face. He was still as striking as ever, but tonight there was something different about him, something inexplicable. "It's been a while," I replied. My friends were shocked, jaws practically dropping. "You know Professor Monroe?" I laughed lightly, turning to my friend.
Je, ido.
Matthew followed my words with a gentlemanly smile. Then he looked at me. Are you leaving? I nodded, touching my flushed cheek. Yeah, a little tipsy. I'll take you home, he offered. My friends immediately pulled at my sleeve, giving me knowing looks and grinning like nosy ants. I hesitated for a moment, then nodded, following Matthew out the door. It wasn't until I stepped outside that it hit me. Had he come all this way just for me? That's when I noticed the umbrella in his hand. If he had brought an umbrella, why were his shoulders and hair still damp? Matthew tilted the umbrella toward me. The wind was strong, and it wasn't convenient to use it while walking. I glanced up at him. Then why not just walk slower? He paused for a moment, looking at me with a deep, unreadable gaze. Then in a quiet voice he said, Zoe, I missed my chance when we were 18. I've already waited 10 years. My heart trembled. When we arrived at my apartment building, Matthew handed me the umbrella. The weather here isn't like back home. It's unpredictable. Better to be prepared. I politely thanked him but didn't take the umbrella. Instead, I looked at him and said, Come upstairs for a bit. It's still early. Maybe have a cup of tea. He hesitated for a moment, not answering, but then without a word, he reached up and unfastened his seatbelt. We stepped out of the car, and I found myself once again standing under the tilted umbrella. I felt dazed for a second, suddenly reminded of that rainy night on my 28th birthday, how I had walked home completely drenched without an umbrella. And now, even though there was no rain, just soft and slow falling snow, someone was here holding an umbrella over me. Thank you for taking me home tonight, I said. Matthew looked at me, the corner of his lips curving slightly. You're welcome. After all, I came here for you. I smiled and led him upstairs. In the elevator, he glanced at me and asked, I heard you finally cut things off with James. I nodded without hesitation. Yeah, he moved on, and as the person from his past, it's time for me to step aside. Matthew removed his glasses and looked directly at me. And what about you? Do you want a new beginning? I met his gaze. Maybe it was the alcohol or maybe it was something else, but I was the one who leaned in and kissed him first. When I was 18, I had faced a choice. Matthew, who was brilliant but aloof, or James, who was charming but immature. Back then, I had chosen James, and I had spent 10 years realizing that choice had no answer. Now Matthew stood before me once again, offering me a new choice. Was I doing this out of revenge, or was I questioning the past 10 years of my life? I wanted to know, if I had chosen Matthew back then, would my life still have been a question with no answer? I felt like a reckless fool as I pushed Matthew against the elevator wall and kissed him. He accepted it, his hand instinctively cradling the back of my head, shielding me from the impact. In the next moment, he took control. Rationality vanished. Desire took over. He pulled me into his arms and my breath hitched. His eyes, usually calm and composed, were now tinged red. Not just with passion but with something deeper, something raw, something painful. Then his voice trembled as he asked, Zoe, is this your new choice? Will you regret it? A tear fell onto the back of my hand, its heat making me shiver. I had never seen a man cry before. I froze for a second before reaching up to wipe his tears away. I know this might sound cruel, Matthew, but I don't regret it. I took a deep breath. I just want to know, if I had chosen you back then, would I have one? Just once. I was 28 now. Maybe it was too late to fall in love with him, but I still wanted to try. Matthew suddenly laughed. He lowered his head, burying his face in the curve of my neck. Then don't regret it, Zoe. You spent enough of your life regretting. And so we lost ourselves in that reckless night. From the elevator to my apartment, we kissed feverishly, leaving a trail of discarded clothing behind. From the couch to the balcony, the city lights blurred around us. The moon over Milan wasn't particularly bright, nor was it perfectly round, but Matthew said my tears were bright enough. He said he hadn't just held back for 10 years. He had endured much, much longer. I believed him. Between tangled sheets, I found myself cursing him under my breath. Are you trying to kill me, Matthew? Looking slightly wronged, he murmured. I couldn't help it. To me, you're still the girl from when we were 18. The alcohol had long since faded, lost between our kisses. When everything was over, he carried me to the bathroom, settling me into the warm water. He held me from behind, his fingers gently rocking my shoulders. Zoe, tell me you won't look back, that you won't leave me. Matthew had always been starved for love. His love had always been one-sided, without any hope of being returned. And now that I had slept with him, all he wanted was a promise, a little certainty, a bit of reassurance. Through the swirling steam, I leaned in and kissed him. I won't look back, Matthew. We're not kids anymore. Let's try this. Let's see where it takes us. My heart had been empty for too long. Maybe now I could try filling it with him completely. He didn't say anything for a while. My forehead was burning against his, but he only held me closer. Finally, he whispered, "You're the one who started this, Zoe. Keep your word." I had never been good with emotions, always too blunt, too careless with people's feelings. But this time I cared. "Zoe," he murmured, "please love me." I chuckled and kissed him again, looking forward to it. Professor Monroe. Later, I got a call from an old friend back home while Matthew was fumbling with the flowers on our balcony, trying to figure out why they had died. For someone so skilled. His hands were shaking ridiculously as he explained himself. I didn't know plants could drown. I just watered them a little too much. I sighed, exasperated but amused. Over the past month, I had come to learn all his quirks. His seriousness, his occasional cluelessness, and the way he tried to make up for his mistakes. I grabbed his hand. These hands should stick to sketching designs, not killing my flowers. I have a collection launching next month, Professor Monroe. Focus on that instead of terrorizing my plants. Matthew pursed his lips, clearly sulking, but after a pause he nodded and leaned down to steal a kiss, probably checking if I was still mad. He was the one who handed me my phone, looking a little nervous when he saw the number. I took it calmly. "Zoe, you've been abroad for a month without saying a word to us. Some friend you are," the caller teased. I said nothing, waiting for what came next. He was one of James Carter's old drinking buddies, someone I had no interest in keeping in touch with. After a brief silence, he cleared his throat and asked, "So when are you coming back? Everyone misses you. Living overseas must be rough, right? Wouldn't it be better to come home and build your career here?" I cut him off with a distant smile. I don't have any plans to return home for now. Where I choose to build my career is my decision. What exactly are you trying to say? Before I could get an answer, there was a scuffle on the other end of the call, followed by the abrupt sound of the line disconnecting. I stared at my phone unimpressed, then set it aside. Matthew pulled me into his arms, his brows furrowed tightly. "What's wrong? You look worried." He shook his head but held me even closer. Meanwhile, in a private lounge back home, James Carter smashed his friend's phone against the table, shattering it into pieces. "What the hell is your problem, James? Why break my phone?" his friend complained. James ignored him. He stood up, grabbed a few glasses, and hurled them to the floor. His friend, realizing there was no saving his phone, sighed and decided to provoke him instead. "Weren't you so sure Zoe would never leave you? Then what's all this about? She can move on, but you can't handle it, man. You can dish it out, but you sure as hell can't take it." James snapped, his rage boiling over. "Take what? That I don't care if she comes back or not. What does she think? She can force me into marriage by playing hard to get." His friend raised an eyebrow. "You're the only one who hasn't figured it out yet, huh?" He chuckled. "Whatever. It's not our wives who ran off." James clenched his jaw. "I went home today and found that all our photos were gone. Every single one. She burned them. She burned everything. Did she think that would make me regret letting her go? Not a chance. I should be celebrating finally getting rid of her." Watching James spiral, his friend rolled his eyes and walked over, patting him on the shoulder. All right. If you're so happy about it, maybe put the bottle down. You've got a stomach condition. And remember, no one's going to run out to get you meds. Hell, you should be grateful that little girlfriend of yours, Lily, hasn't taken advantage of you being sick yet." James scowled, slammed the door open, and stormed out. Stepping outside, he realized it had started pouring. He hadn't brought an umbrella. He hadn't even driven himself tonight, thinking he'd just come for drinks and nothing more. Now he was stuck, irritated by the idea of having to call someone for a ride, but there was no one reliable around him. If Zoe were still here, the thought alone sent a sharp pang through his head, but he refused to acknowledge it as anything significant. No, it wasn't anything complicated. He just hated her. She was 28 now, too old for childish games. 3 months had passed. She left the country behind his back, didn't even send a single text, not one call. Fine, if she wanted to play, he'd play. Let's see who gives in first. His fingers twitched toward his phone, about to call her. But at the last second he stopped when he saw that Zoe had long since blocked him, both his number and his social media. His expression darkened. He immediately returned the favor, blocking her right back. You've grown bold, Zoe. You'd better not come crawling back to me. Even if you kneel and beg me to marry you, I won't even spare you a glance. In Milan I barely had time to breathe. I had poured my heart into my upcoming fashion collection, and Matthew had noticed every effort I made. Maybe he had taken my jokes too seriously because before I knew it, he was actively helping me gain exposure. Not only that, he even designed a complimentary jewelry line to match my clothing pieces. Whenever we had downtime, we'd sit by the floor-to-ceiling windows, sketching together, lost in our work. Time slipped by so effortlessly. What should we eat tonight? He asked as dinner time approached. Matthew had taken on the responsibility of cooking for us. It was only after reuniting with him that I realized not only was he brilliant at design, but he was also an incredible cook. For someone like me living abroad, he was practically a lifesaver. Something homemade, he suggested, watching me for approval. I nodded. Sure. Are you going to the market to get ingredients, or should we just go to that Chinese restaurant downtown? Matthew scoffed, looking almost offended. Do you think any restaurant has better food than what I make? I smirked, confident. Are we? He nodded smugly. Stay in. I'll even make dessert for you. Great. How much are you charging for this, Professor Monroe? I teased, setting aside my sketches. Before I could react, he pulled me into a sudden embrace. No kisses, no teasing, just a quiet, lingering hug. This is your tip, he murmured. The more time I spent with Matthew, the softer my heart became. Once upon a time, I believed that James would be devoted to me until we were old and gray. Reality, however, slapped me in the face. For 10 years I had chased something, longed for something, craved something in love, and yet in the end it was given to me. Effortlessly, by the very person I had overlooked in my youth. I never pretended to be some noble, virtuous person. When I was 18, I made my choice because of a fleeting heartbeat, a moment of infatuation. But at 28, my decision was no longer just about passion or pursuit. I knew what I wanted now. I wanted to be someone's priority. I wanted a career, a family, children. So when I discovered James had cheated, I took my time clearing my heart of him. In less than a week, I cut him off completely. In just a few months, I let Matthew in. All I had wanted was a home. At first, I thought I was using Matthew to get back at James to fulfill my own plans. But now, looking at him, I realized I loved him. Sometimes falling for someone isn't a conscious decision. That night, we paired our simple homemade dinner with a bottle of red wine. Matthew laughed at my odd choice of pairing, but I only clinked my glass against his. Later that night, we took another step forward in our relationship, fully sober, fully aware, fully responsible for our choices. I didn't understand why, despite my promise to love him, Matthew always seemed to feel unworthy. Why was he always the one trying to please me? So as we lay there, fingers intertwined, I gently reached for the ring I had custom made and slid it toward his ring finger. Matthew, I need to take responsibility for my choice, I whispered. Will you marry me? I might have been the first person to propose in bed. Still breathless, tears clinging to my lashes, Matthew froze. He had no motion, his body stiff as if someone had pressed pause on him. His eyes turned glassy, his breath hitching in his throat. Of course I will, he finally said. The moment the ring slipped onto his finger, he completely stilled. We were still tangled up in an awkward position, but his attention was fixed solely on the ring. After a long while, he finally lowered his head and pressed a soft kiss to my lips. You proposed, Zoe. No takebacks, no running away. I was so exasperated that I almost laughed. I won't, I promised. Then with a swift kick to his chest, I snapped him out of his daze. He held me tightly and chuckled. I know how to make sure you don't run. How? I narrowed my eyes. Let's have a baby. I blushed furiously, shoving him away. What kind of twisted logic is that? While we were finding happiness, someone else was drowning in frustration. James didn't even know what was wrong with him anymore. He had convinced himself that he adored Lily, that she was exactly his type, and yet he was the one who pushed her away. Day by day, time passed, but Zoe was completely silent. It was as if she had died, no calls, no messages, nothing. At some point, James had even removed her number from his block list, telling himself that if she called, if she cried, if she begged, he'd consider giving her another chance. But she didn't. 100 days had passed and still nothing. Lily wasn't satisfied. She clung to him, demanding, "What did I do wrong? I thought I was exactly what you wanted. I'm young, I'm beautiful. Isn't that what you like? So why are you throwing me away?" She was just a girl new to the real world. Maybe she had truly given her heart to him, and yet despite her efforts, despite her beauty, despite everything she did right, she was still discarded. And James, he gave her only 2 words in response. "I'm bored." That was the final verdict, the same one he had handed to Zoe. Lily finally understood. James Carter didn't love anyone. He had no other woman now, no one to take his mind off things. Occasionally, he'd drink too much and find himself unsettled, restless. Lily understood instantly. She let out a bitter laugh as she pocketed the check James had given her. "You got tired of 10 years of love? You got tired of a 10-week fling? What's next, 10 days? James didn't respond. She looked at him unimpressed. "You don't even know what you want, do you?" At least she still had her pride. Before leaving, she sneered at him one last time. "Let me tell you something, James. The people you push away never come back, and I'm not just talking about myself." She smirked. "Last time I came looking for you, I ran into her. She walked right past me that day. Must have been your 10th anniversary, right? I think I also heard it was his birthday. That old woman left crying that night." "Oh, and I just remembered," Lily continued, her voice tinged with mockery. "It was pouring rain that night. I saw him clutching a ring box, walking straight into a bar. Pathetic, really." Before she could finish speaking, James suddenly grabbed the bottle of liquor in front of him and smashed it onto the ground. Glass shards and alcohol splattered everywhere. The sharp edge of the shattered bottle had sliced a deep gash into his forearm. The room instantly fell silent. Blood dripped down his arm, pooling onto the floor. The wound looked severe, but not a single person moved to help. James glared at Lily. "Get out." Lily hesitated for a second, then turned and left without another word. Only after she was gone did his so-called friends dare to approach him. "James, what the hell was that?" one of them muttered. "You're seriously losing it over this. You got rid of a woman, and now you're hurting yourself." But James ignored their chatter. He pulled out his phone and dialed Zoe's number, only to be met with silence. He had forgotten that he was still blocked. His face darkened even further. He turned to one of his friends and barked, "Call Zoe." His friend blinked in confusion, looking terrified that his own phone would meet the same fate as the shattered bottle. "Call her? What do you even want me to say? She and I aren't close, and after all the crap you pulled, she's probably sick of hearing from any of us." James roared. "Just tell her I'm hurt. Tell her I got injured. Ask her if she gives a damn." Everyone exchanged glances. So in the end, James was the one who caved first. With no other choice, his friend let out a deep breath and reluctantly dialed Zoe's number. This time, after a long pause, the call connected. Her voice came through distant and emotionless. "What do you need?" It was the first time. The first time she had ever spoken to him like that, so detached, so unfamiliar. James said nothing. He just stared at his bleeding arm, watching as the blood dripped onto the floor, forming a dark red puddle. His friend rolled his eyes before trying to sound as friendly as possible. "Zoe, listen, James got hurt pretty bad, actually. He just got out of the hospital for his stomach issues a few days ago, and now he's gone and hurt himself again. Can you come back and check on him?" The entire room was waiting for her response. Even though James kept his expression cold, his ears were subtly perked up. Then from the other end of the line, a man's voice sounded. "Zoe, let's have the wedding here at this church." The room went deathly silent. It was as if someone had just died. James sat frozen, unable to believe what he had just heard. Then came Zoe's cold, indifferent voice.
Einbuße.
Don't call me about unimportant things again. The moment those words registered, James snapped. He grabbed the phone and roared into it. What the hell are you busy with, huh? Getting married? Who the hell are you marrying, Zoe? Answer me. No response. His friend said. She hung up a while ago. James slammed his fist against the table. The phone cracked under the impact. His friend nearly collapsed onto the floor, wanting to cry but too afraid to make a sound. James clenched his jaw, muttering through gritted teeth. She's lying. She's lying to me, to all of us. She's just trying to put on a show, playing hard to get. She loves me. She's obsessed with me. She's just messing with me. The room fell into a suffocating silence. Then a woman who had been sitting quietly in the corner finally stood up. She glanced at James and scoffed. I've put up with you long enough, James. You deserve this, every bit of it. James's eyes flickered with irritation, but she continued. You wasted 10 years of Zoe's life, and in the end, you threw her away with a casual "I'm bored." And now you're here making a scene, acting like she still loves you. Please. I've known Zoe for 10 years. Do you really think she never wanted to leave you? She did. She just held on because of what you two once had, because she thought there was still a future worth holding on to. But you pushed her away, and now she's marrying someone else. What are you going to do about it? Isn't this exactly what should have happened, James? You're such a piece of trash. You don't deserve to be loved. Zoe leaving you was the best decision she ever made. Instead of throwing a tantrum in front of us, why don't you go home and reflect on just how stupid you've been these past few years? After delivering her final blow, the woman swung her purse over her shoulder and walked out, leaving behind a group of stunned people. Even James's friend, who had just had his phone shattered, sighed, stood up, and patted him on the shoulder. James, think about it. Really think about it and stop dragging the rest of us into your mess. If you can't let go of Zoe, why not just apologize? Swallow your damn pride for once. He paused before adding, Ding, but what if she never comes back? Are you just going to keep dragging us through your insanity for the rest of your life? With that, he grabbed a few other friends and left. Soon, James was the only one left in the private lounge. No way, he muttered under his breath, his voice trembling slightly. For the first time, he truly understood what Zoe's departure meant, and for the first time, he felt something close to fear. Time blurred. His drink had long since gone warm, and the blood from his arm had nearly dried. His lips were pale, but his mind finally snapped into clarity. No way, I'm letting you marry someone else. He bolted out the door, dialing Zoe's number as he ran, but Lily's words kept echoing in his head. The ring that night. Had he actually planned to propose to Zoe? As soon as I ended the call, Matthew wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his forehead against the curve of my neck. His voice was soft, hesitant. Will you blame me? I was caught off guard. Blame you for what? Matthew sighed a little sulky. I knew exactly who was on the other end of that call, and yet I still spoke up. I provoked him. Will you hate me for it? Will you go back? Will you feel bad for him? He fired off question after question, not even giving me time to answer. He sounded pitiful, dejected. Only when he finally quieted down did I reply. Of course I knew who it was, and I knew exactly why he called, but I don't love him anymore, Matthew. I felt nothing. I turned in his arms, meeting his eyes, and I knew you said that on purpose, but I liked it. Felt good. Why would I hate you for it? His eyes flickered with surprise. As for going back, of course I have to. I have a design extension to attend in a few months, I continued, but not for him. I hesitated before asking, will you come with me? Matthew stared at me for a moment, then suddenly flipped me around and kissed me. Of course I'll go. I'm your husband, aren't I? Our wedding was supposed to be rushed. My work schedule was packed, and I barely had time to plan anything. But Matthew, despite being busy himself, cleared his calendar and took charge of the arrangements. He personally handled every detail, even designing our wedding rings. Meanwhile, I, specializing in fashion design, picked up my pencil again to sketch my own wedding dress. I originally wanted to tailor it to Matthew's preferences, but he stopped me. Design it however you like, he said. You're the bride, not me. But you're the groom, I countered. Matthew smiled. I love you, so whatever you like, I like too. I just want you to walk down the aisle in a dress that you truly love. As long as you're wearing the ring I designed, I'll be happy." We respected each other deeply, which meant there was little to fight about. He loved me wholeheartedly, and I in turn was learning how to love him just as much. His insecurities were fading little by little. I wanted things to stay this way. This was the life I wanted. In the end, we decided on 2 ceremonies, one in Milan and one back home. The Milan wedding was small. With no family or teachers nearby, we only invited a handful of close friends and a few respected names in the industry. It was simple but intimate. I thought everything would go smoothly, but someone clearly didn't want me to have my happy ending. "Do you, Matthew Monroe, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to love and to cherish in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, for as long as you both shall live?" "I do." Honestly, I had always thought the whole cold and intimidating persona Matthew had in the professional world was just an act, because the man standing in front of me right now, the one looking at me like a lovesick fool, eyes brimming with unshed tears, was nothing like the untouchable mentor the world thought he was. I teased him about it, but the priest shot me a warning glance. Now to the bride, the priest continued. "Zoe," he said, his voice steady, "do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to love and to cherish in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, for as long as you both shall live?" I looked up at Matthew's hopeful face. I didn't rush to answer. My mind was filled with memories of the time we had spent together. It was almost laughable. 10 years with James never gave me the love I longed for. Yet in such a short time I had found it with Matthew. I thought I wouldn't get emotional, but looking at him now, seeing his eyes brimming with tears, I found myself tearing up too. "Say yes," Matthew whispered, his voice trembling as he cried, afraid I would say something unexpected. A small smile tugged at my lips. "Well, if he doesn't want to." Just as I was about to finish my sentence, the last person I ever wanted to see burst into the room. James Carter. Gone was his once polished appearance. He looked worn down, unshaven, exhausted, like he had struggled just to find his way here. In his hands he clutched a familiar sight. Our old engagement rings, the ones I had designed. The red velvet box they were kept in was now dirty, smudged from his grip, but he held it up in front of me as if it were some grand offering. "Zoe, stop being mad at me," he pleaded. I stayed where I was, unmoving, as he took a step closer. "I found our rings," he continued. "Let's go back and have the wedding. I already kicked Lily out these past few days." He faltered, struggling to get the words out. I miss you. Come back with me. You don't have to work anymore. Just be my wife. I'll give you everything you ever wanted. Wasn't marriage with me your dream for the past 10 years? Let's go." Before I could even react, Matthew was already moving. Most people saw Matthew as a composed, distant man, polite but unapproachable, sharp-tongued but a gentleman at heart. So when he suddenly tackled James to the ground and started beating him senseless, it shocked everyone. He wasn't holding back. The insults that poured from his mouth were brutal enough to make the priest start crossing himself in horror. James quickly fought back, and soon the two of them were in a full-blown brawl. Curses were just as vicious, filled with rage, as he accused Matthew of stealing his woman. Just as James lunged at him, again I stepped between them, standing protectively in front of Matthew. "Try laying a hand on my husband," I said, my voice calm but firm. "See what happens." James froze, stunned. I placed a hand over my stomach and added, "And if you so much as touch him, I won't forgive you for the sake of our child." Matthew's breath hitched. He immediately moved to shield me, his expression shifting from fury to astonishment. James, on the other hand, looked like he had been struck by lightning. "You're pregnant." I pushed away his trembling hand before it could reach me. "I waited for you, James," I said slowly. 3 years, then another 3 and another, but you never changed. You made me into a joke." I met his eyes directly. "I'm 28 now. I'm not that 18-year-old girl who used to worship you. I chose to stop loving you, and I have every right to fight for my own happiness." James stood frozen in disbelief. I continued, "I made this clear the day we broke up. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore." James clenched his fists, his entire body trembling. He held up the ring box like it would change my mind. "You're lying," he muttered. "You were with me for 10 years. You can't just stop loving me. Who the hell would believe that? 10 years? I could have raised a dog in that time and even it would be loyal to me. How can you just walk away and marry someone else? I didn't respond. Instead, I reached for Matthew's hand and intertwined our fingers. Let me put it this way, I said. I fell for you at 18. It took me a single class break to decide I liked you. And for that brief moment of excitement, I spent 10 years chasing after you. I smiled, my tone indifferent. But at 28, it only took me 2 months to fall for Matthew. And now I can say with certainty I'm willing to spend the next 50 years investing in him. James's face drained of color. I don't love you anymore, I continued. I've let go of everything we once had. Whatever we had, I've tossed it to the dogs. His lips parted, but no words came out. Leave, I said. Don't ever come back. With that, I grabbed my bouquet and flung it toward him. The flowers scattered in the air as I turned back to the altar. I faced the priest and declared loud and clear, I do. To this day, I don't remember how James left. All I knew was that when I finally looked back, the only thing left behind was that battered red ring box. The past was dark and unchangeable, but the future, our future, was bright. Matthew, still sniffling from earlier, nodded so many times I thought his head might fall off. He took my hand, the one now wearing the ring he had designed, and kissed it reverently. From the moment I met you at 18 until now, he whispered, his voice filled with warmth, you've always been the one I love most. I raised an eyebrow. Well, now you have competition. He blinked. Who? I smirked. The one in my stomach. Matthew laughed, bright and uninhibited. So, he murmured, does this mean we're getting closer to your ultimate goal? I kissed him, smiling against his lips. Maybe, I whispered. After all, I did say I'd invest 50 years in you.